try to ward off big losses from a spate of natural disasters, customers are being hit with huge premiums and they're furious. Vicky Jardim has that story.
On a pension, Dina Formica needs to manage her money, but the 91-year-old received a shock when her home insurance unexpectedly tripled, even though she didn't make a claim.
The house itself has never been underwater, and to me, there's no justification for it. To say, well, we're going to triple it, and that's it, you either like it or lump it.
GIO Insurance didn't respond to our calls, but Dina's property is in a flood-prone area. But she's not the only one set to be slugged with higher insurance premiums. Floods, tsunamis, earthquakes, cyclones and bushfires are making life more expensive for all Victorians.
Insurance companies want to preserve their profits, and QBE, for example, has downgraded its profits this week. IAG is expected to do the same. Someone has to pay for all those natural disasters.
In fact, a JP Morgan and Deloitte survey found insurance premiums rose 11% last year. This year, they're predicted to jump by 8%. While we may be at the mercy of Mother Nature, experts believe you can get a better deal. You just have to...
A suburban shocker, why the rich are paying less for their power than everyone else. Speed zone madness, the confusion over driving limits. Now you can have your say. The claws are out in a very nasty catfight over a $100,000 kitten. And the pills that promise so much. What's really in your diet pills? It's the suburban shocker that will have you reaching for your power bill. The fact that wealthier suburbs pay less for their electricity than anyone else. But there is something you can do about it.
It is actually the richer postcodes that are paying the lowest rates for electricity.
It's enough to give you an electric shock.
It's unfair that the people in the West are paying more because of their locality.
Two different postcodes, two very different power prices. More often than not, the people paying the most per kilowatt are the ones who can afford it least.
They're rich enough over there, why should we pay more?
I was totally shocked. I could not believe that.
Leah Tarrower is a single mum living with her daughter in Melbourne's outer west. With power prices on the rise, this winter they've been rugging up instead of using the heater.
We tend to go to bed a bit earlier, keeps us warm. Sometimes we actually sleep together to keep us warm.
On the other side of town in upmarket Toorak is Paul Wegener and his young family.
We pay whatever we have to pay, but obviously we want it to be lower.
Power usage is still an issue, but not as big a hip pocket concern.
We use a lot more because we've got pools and air conditioning and all this sort of stuff.
So how much do they each pay for their electricity? If they both used 8,000 kilowatts a year, Leah could expect to pay $2,217 in Werribee. But Paul in Toorak would cough up just over $1,900, a difference of more than $300.
That is really hard to take, that we work so hard to pay that bill and to hear that somebody else is able to do that so much easier.
Do you think it's fair that you're paying less?
I don't believe I'm paying less.
We know that the price you pay for electricity does depend on your postcode.
The findings come from power price comparison site GoSwitch. Ben Freund is the CEO.
You've got suburbs that are actually a very short distance from one another, practically neighbours, and they're paying very different rates for electricity.
The Great Divide continues in New South Wales, where in Point Piper they could expect to pay almost $100 less than in Penrith. The same when you compare Double Bay with Campbelltown.
Western Sydney is far less affluent sort of region than the eastern suburbs, so I think fundamentally it's wrong.
We believe that charging people different prices simply because of where they live is inherently unfair.
The situation, however, is different in southeast Queensland, South Australia and WA, where the household price of power is the same no matter where you live.
Yeah, there certainly are differences between cities when it comes to electricity prices.
Ingrid Eust from Choice says each state is divided up into different distribution areas.
And there are even greater differences between city areas and country areas. And that has a lot to do with the cost of infrastructure, the cost of those poles and wires.
To some extent, there's a bit of luck of the draw about what network business your home or business happens to be a part of.
Hugo Armstrong represents distributors Powercor and City Power. He says even if you live in the outskirts of the city, you could be part of a rural distribution network, which means you'll pay more.
The simple fact is it does cost more to get energy longer distances to country areas than it does to high-density city areas.
You could have a network distribution area where the border is quite literally running down the middle of the street.
So how much more could you be paying on this side of the street compared to with that side of the street?
It could be as much as a quarter more. It's actually ridiculous when you think about it.
If you don't feel like moving house, there are some things you can do.
We are all going to have to engage more with understanding how we use power and making decisions for ourselves.
Ben says you should take advantage of increased competition in the energy sector and hunt down the best deals. Most states are no longer stuck to the regulated price of electricity, with dozens of retailers out there.
Very few Australian consumers are paying the cheapest rate that they can.
Take Werribee, for example.
Is of a new global financial crisis. For record numbers of Australians struggling to keep up with their mortgage repayments, it's all bad news. A generation ago, buying a house was a rite of passage. Bricks and mortar were as good as money in the bank. Not anymore. Nowadays, renting might just put you ahead of the game.
Go, go, go. Go. Oh. Go, Mum, get it!
To the world, Tracy and David Dodd are the very model of Australia's relaxed and comfortable middle class. They're living the dream.
Mum's gone down.
3 kids, mortgage, and a suburban family home on an acre block. But Tracy and David have been keeping a secret from their family and friends. They're drowning in debt.
No one to look at you would think that you're struggling.
No. It might look like we've got everything, but you don't see the mortgage, you don't see the loans, you don't see everything, and nobody wants to talk about it, you know, because it's embarrassing.
Has it taken a toll on you both?
Sorry.
Oh, it has. It's taking its toll, but you just got to do it.
Like most young couples, the Dodds invested their heart and soul and every spare cent they had into the ideal of home ownership, the biggest mortgage their double income would allow. But last June, Tracy lost her job in the construction industry, and David was made redundant. Just to keep money coming in, he's taken a lower paying job. Ever since, the Dodds, like tens of thousands of middle-class families, have been going secretly broke in the suburbs.
We went from having a really great income, including a company car, fuel card, phone, things like that, to basically losing all of that.
So do you have more money going out each week than what you've got coming in?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
How much difference are we talking about?
Probably, again, very embarrassing, around $400, $400.
This is the outskirts of the Gold Coast, and when you look around and see the big, shiny new houses, the nice lawns and 2 cars in the driveway, you can't help but think life must be pretty good here. But this version of the great Australian dream is just a facade. Nowhere is mortgage stress being felt more keenly than right here. And the figures are staggering. 1 in 50 families are at risk of losing everything.
The number of Australians behind on their mortgage repayments by more than a month is at an all-time high. Areas of mortgage stress can be pinpointed right around the country, mostly in areas that just 5 years ago were booming. Families who borrowed to the limit in the real estate gold rush are the ones who are now struggling to pay their bills.
We've never overspent, never gone outside what we can afford. We're just not spontaneous spenders like that. We'll just go and blow it.
Phil and Sandra Box live in Capel, 2 hours south of Perth, with their teenage boys Aidan and Keegan. Sandra is a school teacher, while Phil runs his own business as a mechanic. Despite 40 years of hard work, their spiralling debt has forced them to come up with a drastic solution.
From that nice family home to the takeaway store.
We'll be comfortable enough here to get us through. The telly will go over here with the PowerPoint and probably the lounge around that side.
This will be their new home, an empty takeaway shop in an industrial block.
Out here we've got enough room for our bedroom to be set up. That'll be storage and wardrobe, that sort of thing in the cool room.
Where's the bathroom?
Bathroom's out the back. You've got to go through the rain, unfortunately.
The shop is one of 6 properties Phil bought in this industrial estate. He runs his business here, but the investment was intended to see them through retirement.
So this was meant to be the retirement fund? So no one could accuse you of sort of just waking up one morning and going, oh, wow, we want to retire in a couple of years. What are we going to do?
Oh no, we had a plan. We just bought our own property and intended to live off the income from that property.
Ironically for Phil, things started to go badly when his mechanics left to join WA's mining boom. The global financial crisis, interest rate hikes, and the spiralling cost of living have combined to create a crippling mortgage squeeze.
It's just the disappointment, I suppose, of coming down from being in a very comfortable position to a point we're not accustomed to, that's all.
Food's gone up, rent's gone up, mortgages have gone up, petrol's gone up. Nothing has come down but house prices. Really working against us, isn't it?
What did those people do wrong?
I don't think it's necessarily a case of doing anything wrong. Sometimes it's bad luck and everything going wrong at the same time. Once one thing falls down, quite often the whole pack of cards kind of comes down with it. Should we go and feed the fish? Yeah.
Property analyst Chris Gray believes what is wrong is Australia's obsession with home ownership. Instead of chasing the dream and pouring everything into one asset, he believes there is another way.
Should we see if there's any fish on the steps?
Chris never considered buying his multi-million-dollar home on Sydney Harbour. It's a rental.
So if you were to buy the family home, you wouldn't be able to get this?
Oh, there's no way we could afford it. So no matter what your budget is, you can never afford the house that you really want. So, yeah, I'd much rather have the view and rent it instead.
So you're living the dream.
Absolutely.
He says owning your own home is overrated, and it's time Australia followed the lead of Europe and Asia, where renting is a way of life.
A lot of expats go to Hong Kong and Singapore and they get in the lifestyle of renting, and it's actually nice and flexible. And they come back to Australia and they think, well, why would we buy the family home?
Come on!
You don't meet many Australians like the Semmons family.
Should we give Opal the carrot? Opal!
They have no interest getting into the property market. And why would they?
I mean, what's this property worth where you're living?
Oh, I think it's worth $3 million, I've been told.
They rent 10 acres here in the Tweed hinterland, with breathtaking views from the Queensland border down to Byron Bay. There's plenty of room for David and Kristen and their 5 gorgeous kids.
Like, we don't have to worry about, have we got enough petrol in the car for the week and all those kinds of things. We just put some more in.
You've got that bit of money, so if you want to spoil the kids, you can.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
yeah.
Definitely. And with 5, that's a lot of spoiling. It's not cheap.
OK, honey, let's finish off your hair, shall we?
Instead of being slaves to a mortgage, they're investing their time and money in a new business, a kids' hair salon right in the heart of the mortgage stress belt.
So you like playing in the car? Yeah, it's lots of fun, isn't it?
I've got a mum here who owns a real estate, and she was telling me they've just had their biggest boom at the beginning of this year because of all the foreclosures.
Does it make you glad that you rent?
We haven't basically mortgaged our future based on our house. So
life's good for you?
It's very good for us. We're very free, we're very, I guess, we're almost very secure, even though it used to be you had to have a house to be secure.
Jam! Oh, wow.
With the money left over at the end of each week, David and Kristen can afford to treat their kids to a day out. The decision to rent also means fewer arguments about money, one of the major causes of marriage breakup.
We have peace between David and I. Look, honestly, there's so much stress that happens between husbands and wives over money. And I think money just amplifies things.
Yep.
Does it put a strain on the relationship?
Sometimes.
Sometimes it does. For sure.
Yeah.
Won't talk to each other for a couple of days.
The strain is showing. Tracy and David even dipped into their superannuation fund to meet their mortgage repayments. But it wasn't enough. The Dodds have just made the heartbreaking decision to abandon the dream and sell up.
We're going backwards and backwards. We're going to lose everything. And because of the market now, it's gone worse. Not even one person's come out here to have a look at this house.
It was our big dream, and it's a bit of a shock to think that you've worked so hard to now be walking away with nearly nothing.
Oh! Nice work!
They've tried their best to shield the kids from the stress of their financial worries.
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa! Gotcha!
But at 8, their eldest son Caleb is aware that things have changed.
His dream is always to join the army since he was 5. And he did say the other day that it'd be better, Mummy, if he went to college. And I said, well, why is that, darling? He said, well, that way I could get a better paying job and I could help you and Daddy out. And so he does, he understands. And he's such a good kid. We've got great kids.
It's this sort of pressure that's forcing more and more Australians to rethink how they can secure their family's financial future.
There's a massive social stigma against renters. It's always thought the poor people rent. If you look at purely the numbers, it actually makes more financial sense to rent your own home than it does to buy it. The golden rule was that rent money is dead money, whereas the rule now is rent money is only dead money if you don't reinvest the equivalent somewhere else.
Is that Tigger?
Yeah. Tigger. You know, we're better off renting, keeping our overheads low, and having the cash there to do what we want to do. It's a simple equation.
So you've got no regrets about the decisions you've made?
We've got all the things that happen to every family, you know, and
The Super Scratchy. It can make you a quick million, but is it a good bet or a clever stunt? The smart meter rebellion rolls on. Now whole communities are fighting their power companies. Inside the supermarket milk wars, we separate the best from the rest. And trouble in the top end of town, the nasty neighbourhood dispute that's hit a luxury apartment block. It's that magical figure we'd all love to get our hands on, a cool $1 million. And now it's the prize with the latest scratchy tickets. But what are the odds of actually winning, and is it worth? But are the power providers taking notice?
Blow it up. If it comes to a point, blow the damn meters up because they're not worth it.
It has all the hallmarks of a smart meter movement.
The only favour?
Town hall meetings to muster community concern.
We weren't asked. Why weren't we asked if we wanted these things? We're not asked. And this is where it's wrong.
As the meter rollout rumbles on,
we as householders have been fooled.
More Aussie homeowners are taking a stand.
And I said, no, you're not coming in here, mate.
Going all out to keep installers away.
They are very angry.
They're beside themselves with anger.
John and Sonia Rutherford are an unwitting pair of electricity experts. An ordinary Aussie couple, they've looked into smart meters more than most.
Every aspect that we've looked at, we don't really see any pluses. It's all losses.
You've got to start questioning.
Now they're in demand, appearing at community forums to answer the questions they say no one else will.
We're laymen in the community doing the job that the government and the distributors should be doing.
If a meter collector came down and we knew the meter people are in the area, then we'd organise some of our neighbours and it wouldn't just be us on our own.
I thought, oh my God, it's that smart meter thing.
Lionel and Shirley Hoare spotted the smart meter installer coming down their street.
I come rushing home here and I said, the smart meter bloke's in the court. And he just went out and stood in the gateway. I was here guarding the meter box.
And Lionel was out there guarding the gate.
You're not coming in, mate?
He said, yes, I have to knock once, and if they don't answer the door, I start fitting the meter.
What did you think about that?
Well, I thought it was outrageous.
When you first saw this, what did you think?
I thought it was a great gizmo.
While Lionel and Shirley have staved off a smart meter, for Gordon D'Souza, it's all too late.
They did the whole street, and I haven't found someone who's happy.
Now, Gordon watches his power bills like a hawk and monitors his usage at the box. It was easy with the old meter, not so much with the new, despite calling his power provider for help.
When you look at it now, what do you think?
Oh, it still looks very nice, and it still looks confusing.
The guy sounded so convincing. Oh, it just sounded so good.
Back at the meeting,
now I'm locked into a 3-year contract with a company that I really do not like.
smart meter questions keep coming thick and fast.
Just one big test.
So here's some help. A smart meter is a digital device which can automatically transmit your readings straight to your power provider. On the upside, there'll be no more excuses for those ambitious estimated readings. But on the downside, there are radiation fears, much like mobile phones. Earlier this year, we caught up with Peggy Beltsios, who claimed her smart meter was making her sick.
The body was like cooking.
Burning.
Burning.
There are privacy concerns as well. Meters can log your electricity use every half hour, theoretically giving your power provider a window on your world.
You can find out who's on holidays and who isn't, who's using power, who isn't.
Marilyn Holmes wants none of that and has phoned her power provider to opt out of a smart meter install.
Totally un-Australian.
But there's more. Your power provider can now turn your supply on and off with the flick of a switch. Now, it's handy if you're moving into a new home, but what if there's an error or billing dispute and you...
Disputes almost always bring out the worst in neighbours and usually end up in expensive legal action.
You're a mongrel of a neighbour. Who wants a neighbour like you? You're a neighbour from hell.
The best thing to do is to start building a relationship with your neighbour.
The number one thing is to approach your neighbours in a friendly way.
Of all the things neighbours could argue about, noise, pets, trees, parking, fences seem to hold some maddening magical power.
Communication is the key to a good relationship.
All you do is want to poke your nose, don't touch me.
On this map,
It's not right, no.
that land is not yours.
Well, she's supposed to have 5 acres. Where's her 5 acres?
We've seen situations where it's led to criminal behaviour which can become very serious.
When good neighbourly relations turn bad, Neil Twist at the Dispute Settlement Centre of Victoria is the type of guy you go to.
We get about 17,000 calls a year in relation to disputes. Last year, just over a third of those, so around 6,000 calls, were in relation to fence disputes.
If you think we ripped the fence down, charges! 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 Charges!
Anne and Barbara Hodgson are what you might call a textbook case. Who's Anne and who's Barbara?
I'm Anne. That's Anne. I'm Barbara.
And you're Barbara?
Yeah.
Okay. You're dressed the same?
Yeah, you always have.
They got fired up when a neighbour let Glenn DeMerg adjust his cattle next door. What do you want?
I want him out of there.
I think they just like causing a bit of trouble. If they've got nothing else to do, they don't do anything, so it's probably a bit of fun for them.
With the owner's permission, he built a fence to keep his cattle off the Hodgsons' land. So they tore it down. Well, officially, they deny they did it.
So why'd you pull the fences down?
Because it shouldn't have been there in the first place. Because their surveyor said so. Because their surveyor said so.
But you don't want cows here. He puts a fence up and then you pull it down.
He's not allowed to put a fence up. Woodhouse is not allowed to put a fence up. We're not allowed to put a fence up.
I thought you said you didn't pull the fence down.
Well, whatever. That's debatable.
I think most fencing disputes can be negotiated and dealt with, but sometimes they escalate and it doesn't work out that way.
As a lawyer, Megan Fitzgerald from the Fitzroy Legal Service says the court is definitely not where you want these cases to end up.
One reason is taking it to court can add a lot of delay, and it can also cause issues between the ongoing relationship of those parties.
Issues like these.
Your daggy sticks on my fence.
It's not your fence, love.
Isn't it? Who paid for it?
Anne Brown agreed with neighbour Kylie Turner they'd build a dividing fence. So Anne had the fence installed herself, sparking an argument over the bill.
Guess what? More's coming down tomorrow. And how about invasion of privacy with your bloody video? I just want your video, Anne. I'll give you some more.
Some of the common ones we deal with are, for example, where one party wants the Taj Mahal of all fences and someone else just wants a regular fence.
Kids will play in the yard and do their own thing. That's entitled to it. They're entitled to play in the yard. They might be playing with a ball, whatever, cricket, tennis, whatever.
People do incredibly irrational things if they allow disputes to fester.
Things that come hurtling over the fence at me, balls, rocks, there's stones, there's steel bars.
This case in Queensland was, again, about ripping down a fence.
Enjoy themselves.
I've had to fix that fence after your kids have knocked it down twice. I've had to put it back
the
up.
The wind blew that down. That's because it was it had nothing to support it.
And the crazy thing, experience tells us once a mediator is called in, the vast majority of these barneys are sorted in just one session.
We mediate we mediate over 1,000 matters a year, and over 80% of those settle.
They get nasty, don't they? And if you're having a backyard barney with your neighbours, send us an email or give us a call. The latest round of power price rises are giving consumers a nasty shock, with one family's not-so-smart smart meter sending them a bill that was in the millions of dollars.
I felt my heart palpitate. I thought I was going to have a heart attack.
I'm just absolutely disgusted that Origin's got the attitude, you know, here's your bill, deal with it.
Got your power bill lately? If you have, you'll have noticed the prices have gone up, and they'll continue to go up. But for Daryl and Robin Stirlson, who live in this property, their bill is through the roof. Power, shocker.
$3,020,318.27.
How much?
$3,020,318.27.
Say again?
$3,020,318.27.
What are you powering, half of Melbourne?
No, just the house.
Nothing fancy or extravagant really about Daryl and Robin Stirlson's lifestyle. Just the usual. They've even made a contribution to the planet, solar on the roof, which is the origin of the $3 million bill from Origin Energy, their power retailer.
And this is the source of the problem.
The smart meter.
The smart meter. This is a new one, but it was the original smart meter that wasn't so smart.
So the old smart meter spat out the bill of $3,020,000.
And this is a new meter, which we don't know what this one's going to give us yet.
Does this meter work okay?
How do we know?
In November last year, Origin fitted the solar system to the house, which should reduce the bill. 2 months later, Powercore, the distributor, installed a smart meter. Yeah, that was smart. It took 9 months to produce a bill for
$3,020,318.27.
So Powercore, uninvited, unannounced, entered the property again and replaced the old smart meter with a new smart meter.
Powercore have broken in.
How do you know they broke in?
Because we've got an electric gate and you have to break in to get it.
So you can't get in?
You can't get in. They've come in, changed the meter, no explanation, left the power off, left the hot water off.
Origin eventually admitted the $3 million bill was a blue and amended it to $1,600. But with the old smart meter missing, there's no way to verify even if that's accurate.
They can charge what they like. We've got no way of proving our case.
With the power off, fridges and freezers and fences failed. Come on, which is a big drama with a big bull like Murray always on the lookout to do a runner. And here in Meredith, outside Geelong, there's a lot of country to cause chaos in.
Entering a property, changing things, well, the resident is away and no consent's been given is highly unusual, and I'm not entirely sure that it is lawful.
Ben Freund is from the power website GoSwitch, which compares power retailers' plans. Ben, how can someone get a $3 million bill? Surely a human should have picked that up.
Well, all the major consumer companies that have millions of customers on their books use automated billing systems, and quite often these systems have bugs.
Well, where's the checks and balances?
Well, clearly they're insufficient in this particular case.
I don't think I've ever seen that much money.
I've never seen that much money.
I can't believe there's no human sitting there seeing that this is happening. Looking at a ledger saying, I think that bill might be a little bit incorrect.
If they'd paid...